Hi, my name is Tim. I'm Senior Application Specialist at HRSoft. In today's webinar, we will continue adding even more intelligence to our profile from previous webinars. With me today, I have my wingman, the vintage car dealer and sales manager, Mr. Francois Simon, who will answer your questions. You can use the chat box and the GoToWebinar panel. I'm going to make room after the session for more questions to let you follow this presentation better. We expect this webinar to take somewhere in the range of 25 minutes. The webinar will be recorded and made available online later on. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so these are the topics that we have picked for today. After this webinar, you will have a pretty complete understanding of how to set up custom tools by yourself. So we're going to cover these three items using an external data for lookup reference, and we're going to connect to an Excel file today. Then we're going to enforce a policy of 100 files per folder, so we can actually do that by combination properties. And we need to create a new project, a new sequence, a new combination property, and a new file naming property for that. And then we are going to make use of nodes in DXF output files that we can convert and add a node to during a file conversion. So let's have a look. Let's just dive in and have a look at all of this live. So I'm going to start up Custom Tools administration because the first thing that we need to do is actually add the external data source. And this is done by first logging into your database. I'm already logged in. And then going to the external databases. Now I'm going to run through this, but basically we already did quite an extensive webinar about this exact issue or item. And I will show you these links a bit later on. So for now, I'm just going to browse through it pretty quick, create a new one. So the external database, I'm going to create a new one. For the name, you can call it anything you like. It's arbitrary, so call it something meaningful to you. In this case, I'm just going to call it Excel lookup. And for the provider, when we are working with Excel files, that is going to be Office 12. The data source, we need to figure out which file to look into. So I'm going to open up my Windows Explorer and go to the setting up webinar. And then I'm going to share with you a pretty neat trick because we actually need to copy this and the entire string location. But basically, if you use Shift key on your keyboard. So you press Shift and then your right mouse button on your file, and then you can release your Shift key. You have an option to copy as a path. So now we are going to copy this entire string as a file name or path, and then we can paste that into here. Now we don't like these quotation marks, so we need to remove those. But apart from that, it's a really simple way of adding a path to anything. The provider string is going to be Excel 12.0, and we could try connecting with admin. So this is the default user for our database. We connect as admin with no password. So that should be good. And there it is. We have created our external data source. Now, the next thing we need to do is utilize this data source in our profile. And to do that, my recommendation is to just open up the profile and edit that directly from here. So I'm going to double click on the webinar demo. And then in here we have database search groups. Right now I actually have a few, so I'm going to delete those just to make sure that we don't have anything in here at all. Creating a database search group is actually telling Custom Tools where to get values from. The one we did in the admin tool is just to make the connection, you could say. So I'm going to add a new one. And again, the name is arbitrary, so Excel lookup. And then you can see the databases that we are currently connected to. And if I go over here not possible when I'm in this window, but I only have this Excel lookup data point created in my external databases. Under this, I have my Excel file. So this is actually the database itself. And if I expand that further, I can see that I have one sheet where I can pull data from. Basically, you could have all the sheets that you would like in the Excel file, and those would act like individual databases, you could argue. So in this case, I only have one, so these are the columns that I have. Let me just open up the Excel file itself. And that opened up on this window. So as you can see, we have sheet number 1. The first row needs to be the headers. So in this case, I've called that ID, item value A and value B. The first column, or any column, not the first, but you need to have one column which is unique, where no values are alike. So this is my ID column. So I have 1 to 26. And then I'm going to look for these values. If I, for instance, search for ID number 10, I would like to return the value J, AJ, and BJ, because these are the values that are tied to that ID. But you will understand in a few seconds. So the key column is my ID, and I'm going to select that. Now, there is one thing that I often forget myself, but that is you need to have a quoting identifier. And for Excel, it's these square brackets. If you are in doubt, press the question mark, and we open up the help file, and here you can see what you need to know. But that's basically it. I'm not going to go further in depth with this one. For that, you need to watch the linking to external data webinar. So that should be it. Now, I'm not really doing anything currently with this lookup. Now I just created that entry point in my profile. So I obviously need to create some properties to utilize what's in that Excel file. To do that, I go into my model properties and I'm going to add a new group. And these could be Excel lookup and hit OK. So now I need to create some attributes that I'm going to link what's in my Excel file into. So this is what I'm going to do next. I'm going to press the add, and then because I know how CustomTools is working, I'm going to start. I need 4 properties. I'm going to type demo 4, copy that and paste it into here. And then I'm going to add one more, call that demo 3, and finish. Add one more, that would be number 2, and finish. And then the final one, number 1, like so. This is basically how I always create my profiles. If I know that I'm going to use these properties, I'm just going to create them from the first page. I'm not going to build any logic into it in the first run, you could say. So I always just create everything that I need, and then I start working through that from that point on. So now I'm going to double click the demo 1 and tell that to utilize the external database. So for doing that, I'm going to go next. Bottom function is get database item. Now, if you were looking up in your dictionary, you could actually select a dictionary from here, but that's not the case in this item. So just go next a few times and select the database search group, and that would be the Excel lookup. Now, I already deleted these 3-to-1 Excel material items, but those are not going to be cleared until I press OK, because I haven't pressed OK to actually apply these changes to the database yet. So this is why you see those. The first column I'm going to return is the ID, and then I'm going to press finish. And actually, let me just hit OK now and open up SolidWorks, because I would like to show what we already did at this point, so you understand what is happening. If I just hit the properties now, I now have an Excel lookup column or group. And for the demo 1, I have a lookup button. If I press that one and hit search, I will find all of my ID numbers. That's not what I want, of course. I would like to have the 3 remaining columns as well returned in here. So I need to build that logic into my profile. And from now on, I can just use my options from inside SolidWorks. So going back to the model properties, I go to the demo 2, go next a few times. I don't need to set anything at all. Select the Excel and then select the item. For the next one, I want the Excel and I want the value A. And for the last one, next twice, select Excel lookup and then the value B. So basically, this is what I need to define. Nothing else, that should be it. So hit OK. And now if I go to the properties again and run the database search, I missed something. So demo 2 and 3 was not correctly defined. Sorry about that. Demo 2. Yeah. Needs to be Excel lookup. So it didn't clear those. Okay, so now it should be working. So running the search. Demo 1 and 4. Let me just figure out what is going on here. I think I may have this one open, and this is why it's not functioning. So let me get back in here. The database search group is this one. So these ones can be deleted. I'm not sure why these got recreated. Okay, now we should be good. Demo 1. We are going to look at Excel lookup. Demo 2. Excel lookup, the item. Demo 3. Excel lookup, value A. Demo 4. And value B. So now it should be working. Run the database search, and now we have all these search fields. Obviously, demo 1, 2, 3, and 4 might not be the best of text to utilize. You should definitely write in something more meaningful. For instance, value A, value B, as we have in the Excel file headers. But we can run the search now, and we can return all of these. Now, there are 2 ways of working with data from an external data source. You can select a line, and then you can either copy it or you can link it. If I copy the text, then these fields will remain editable. So I can actually just type in new text to these fields. Or I could run the search and select the number 5 again, and then link instead. That will gray out these because now they are linked to the Excel file. So basically what this means is the Excel file is driving these properties. If the Excel file should be changed at some point, you can actually set it up in a way so these will update accordingly. So this is how it's working. So that's taken care of then. Now, I know that I'm going to work on a really big project, and I would really like to have some way of controlling how to make sure that I don't have more than 100 files per folder. And we can actually do that pretty easy, you could say, if you know at least. So I'm going to create some new stuff in here to make that happen. So the first thing I need is a new sequence. I'm going to add a sequence and call it limit folder. And copy that one. The max value for this one is going to be 9999, and the next value, to make it simple, is going to be 99. For the format date, it's going to be a 4-digit running number. So that should be it. Then I'm going to, of course, use that new sequence. So I'm going to go to my model properties And I'm going to create in the Excel lookup actually a new one. So call that new sequence. Copy that and paste it. Now this one is going to utilize the sequence I just created. So I'm going to use a button function, get code, and go next a few times. And then if you remember from the first or second webinar, we selected all sequences. Now we're going to pick one sequence out, and that is the limit folder, because only this one should be used in this case. Then I need to create a file name property, because this project is going to be unique. So I'm going to add a new one and call that folder limit. So that will be my file name for what I'm going to do now. Now, to use that one, I actually need to create a combination property, because I'm going to modify my sequence in a way that it's going to create a set of subfolders based on where we are in the sequence. And now this is going to be a little bit technical, but you will understand when you see the first and the second file being saved. So I'm going to add a new combination and call that folder limit. And now here comes one of these small tricks that you should definitely pick up on. So I'm going to add the new sequence. Now, if I want to have only 100 files per folder, and I have my sequence, maybe that would be 1025, then I want to place that in a folder called 1000 or 1000. So I don't need the 25. So I can remove the last two characters from that sequence and then add 00. So if my sequence is something 00 and until remove the last characters 99, then I only have 100 files per folder. Then I of course need to add the sequence itself, because I still need the file name. That was a bit technical. So now I'm going to go back to my file property, and that is going to be used as my file name, edit that one, and tell it that, well, this is going to retrieve a combination value, and it's going to use the folder limit. So let's test that. Now, if I create a new sequence now, we can see that we come to file number 99. It's going to create this as my file name. So this is where it's going to place my file. Now, I'm not going to hit save at this point, because I need to create a project, because I want to be project specific for this one. So, but you can see that it's creating the file name as it should. So open up the options again, and then I'm going to create a new project. So add a new project, call that 5000. Like so, and tell this project to utilize the limit folder as my file name. And I'm going to save this into my d:"design, like so. And then it's going to create the subfolders accordingly. Yeah, basically that should be it. So if I'm going to create from this project the 5000, a new sequence, and insert that one, then when I hit save, it's going to create this folder structure. So I'm going to hit OK. And now it's going to create that folder structure and save the file with that file name. And basically, if I open the Explore window, you can see that in the design, I don't have any other folders. So if I create a new file or save this one as a copy, give it a new sequence number, it's going to get into a new folder name, hit OK, and then save that one. And explore into that folder, you will see that this is now placed in a different folder structure. So now we have the 100s and the hundreds, or the 0 to 100 and 100 to 200. So we are creating a folder structure on the fly. Now, one more thing that I would like to show in here is actually that based on the project you select, in this case it's the 5000, and I only want to use the 5000 with this kind of setup. You can actually tell the Excel lookup group that based on a project number, if that is 5000, then it's going to be set visible. Okay, so creating a new file. And going to the properties. The project is now set to 5000, so I can see this lookup group. If I select a different project, that property group is then removed. So based on what project I have open, I can control the visibility. So you can control group visibility based on a custom property. Okay, so the last thing that I would like to show is actually create a new file really quick. And let's just save that with, not that one, but this one. And save it into that folder. So this is sheet metal file. I'm going to run a conversion of this one. So I'm going to go print convert, select the batch operation, and then create a DXF file from this part. And then just let it run. This I want to do because I want to show you that we can actually add nodes to these DXF outputs. So if I explore into that folder and open up the DXF, I might get into some trouble. No, it's working fine. Sometimes you get a report that eDrawings is trying to send an email. I'm not sure where that's coming from. But as you can see, we have the project node inserted. So right now I have a node. This is the end of webinar series. It's not entirely true. We're just going to focus on some different ones. But you can actually add and build your own custom nodes to these views. And this is done in the database option. So you go into nodes templates, and right now we have laser cut info and we have cutting profile. Basically, what you do is you just type in a name, an arbitrary name again, and then you can start building your output down here. So that could be material, and then you select the SolidWorks property called material. And you can continue doing that for thickness and so on. So you can build whatever you need. The SolidWorks properties is material, quantity, and thickness. Then you have your model properties. Those are the ones you have defined in your CustomTools profile. There are drawing properties as well as cut list properties. So you can actually create your own nodes based on what your requirements are. To use these nodes, we can go into the file conversion, and in this case it was the DXF part. And there is a small conversion options dialog. If you open up that one, you actually get quite a bit of additional settings that you can tweak for different file types. But in this one, you have the additional option to display a node template to every view, and in this case it's the laser cut info. But I could have used the cutting profile as well. So this is basically how you can do it. And you can of course deselect it and create DXF files with no nodes at all. So choice is completely yours. Okay, I'm running overtime here, I think. So that is all I had to show for today. With these 3 webinars we have now completed, you should have quite extensive knowledge about configuring custom tools. We at least think that this serves as a pretty good foundation as administrative training for all to follow. With CustomTools 2017 SP1 getting closer and closer, we want to focus on what's new in 2017 product. There are quite a bit of new and enhanced features we want to share with you. So on May the 11th, same time as today, we will look into CustomTools 2017, and that would be both SP0 as well as SP1. And regardless if SP1 was not released yet, at least then you will know what is coming. And that is going to be a 2-part webinar kept at about 30 minutes per webinar, just to keep the mark that we always try to aim for. With that said, we are now open for questions when the recording is stopped. But first, I want to thank you all for attending this webinar, and I hope to see all of you for the next one. Thank you and have a nice day.
We are in the life-saving business. We kill your routines before they kill you.